Is it working? Are we live? Oh my gosh, we are live. Yay! Hello everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. It is definitely a Mercury retrograde. I went to hit live, start my live video, and I turned my phone off. So that was interesting. So happy Mercury retrograde. Yay! In fact, this morning, in a brilliant mercurial retrograde moment, I actually washed my hair with our peppermint body wash soap. So my hair has been minty fresh all day long. So, oh, what am I doing? So I am just got home not too long ago. So I am still kind of setting up. Give you guys some time to come in, let people realize that we are on. And I have been sneezing and sniffling all day, so I apologize in advance if that becomes excessive over the next hour or so. But thank you so much for joining me. Welcome. And I do apologize. I had planned on, I know I've been gone for a couple of weeks, and I didn't mean to be totally gone. I had expected, so what I was doing, I'll tell you as I'm pulling out my cards and everything. I basically went on a pilgrimage. As some of you know, I had done, toward the end of September, middle of September, whatever. No, beginning of September. I had done a vision quest out in central Washington, out in the woods. And that was awesome and amazing. And I came back and I had a week and a half or something like that, and went on a pilgrimage. I extended my quest into a pilgrimage halfway across the country. And so for months and months and months, my guides have been nudging me to go to Devil's Tower, or as the original name, it's what, Malaya Plata or something like that. It means the Bear Lodge. So I've been saying Bear Lodge, but not too many people realize that that's what the real name was. So, but I was at Devil's Tower. My guides had been nudging me for a long time, and just before my vision quest, things kind of fell into alignment, and it just all kind of fell into place, and we ended up going, like I said, like a week and a half or so after I got back from my vision quest. We took a road trip to Devil's Tower, and which was amazing. So we stayed at Devil's Tower at Bear Lodge at the KOA campground there in a teepee on equinox under a full moon. It was amazing, amazing. And I did pipe ceremony when we first got there the first night. And even though I couldn't see the tower, we part of the ordeal of getting there was that it was like raining like crazy. And the road going up there was this curvy road. So we're on these strange roads that we didn't know during pouring rain at night. And the roads are like so curvy that it keeps going from anywhere between 65 and 35 miles an hour. Like each curve had its own speed limit. And there was no chance that we were going to see the tower on our way in. But when we got there, the rain stopped. So we were able to get into our teepee. Of course, teepees have smoke holes in the top of them. And they are just as good at letting the rain in as they are in letting the smoke out. So there was a bed, but it was wet, so we had to make adaptations and flip the mattress, and we had a tarp along, so we put a tarp down, and after that it was fine. But I did pipe ceremony that night, came back in and started taking pictures of the interior of the teepee, and there were orbs everywhere. Like I had introduced myself to the spirits of the land, the ancestors of the land, told them what I'd come to do. I was guided to do was to come and honor them, and follow my guidance and everything like that. So then we went up to the tower itself the next day, and I was actually kind of anxious because I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. I wasn't sure where I was supposed to go. I just knew I was supposed to come to the tower. And originally, when I was getting that call, I didn't realize it, but that is the place, supposedly, where White Buffalo Calf Woman brought the pipe, the sacred pipe, to the Lakota people. I didn't know that when I first was feeling the pull to go, and I found out later, and I cannot tell you how magical it was. I was anxious. We went up to the tower, went up as high as you can go without having a permit to climb. And right there was a whole little grove, little circle of trees, or half circle of trees, where people, mostly Native Indigenous people, had come and put prayer ties or tied ribbons to the trees, done ceremony and prayers in that place. And it was so sacred. It was amazing. As soon as I saw those trees with the ribbons on it, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I was slightly off the trail. It was like this nice little round area on the ground in front of these trees, and I didn't have a ribbon, so I borrowed my fiance Valerie's fingernail clipper to clip the hem of my t-shirt that I was wearing, and then I tore from the bottom, I tore a ribbon around off of my t-shirt that I was wearing. I just went and sat on that spot and just closed my eyes and just prayed and felt the land and connected with the ancestors and with White Buffalo Calf Woman, who's one of my guides, and just prayed and connected and thanked them and cried, and it was amazing. So then we went to Pipestone, Minnesota, and that is the only place, if you've seen the sacred pipes with the red stone bowls on them, like my pipe, if you've ever tuned into one of my pipe ceremonies, the only place that those are quarried is at Pipestone, Minnesota. so I was able to go there, and just such a magical trip. I actually got permission from the ranger to do a pipe ceremony at the quarries, and it's just unbelievable, just amazing. And then they had some stone carvers there. We'll get to the cards in a minute. I hope you don't mind listening to me ramble about my trip, but the stone is called catlinite, and it's a soft stone, so it can be carved. And they had stone carvers there, like generational, like people who have been carving stones for like 30 years, and they were like 4th or 5th generation pipe makers. And so we talked to one of the guys there, and he recommended going to this store in town, and we didn't know it. Valerie wanted a piece of pipe stone to carve, and so we asked him where we could go, and he recommended this store. I don't think it's Jasper, Valerie. I don't remember. It's catlinite is the official name. Kind of looking it up. But yeah, it's catlinite. It's a type of argillite, which I don't know. Quartzite. And but anyway, so he guided us to this store where they sold pipestone. There were a couple of choices. There was a fort there that was more touristy, and he said they get their pipestone like from a few miles, like 8 or 9 miles away, and they use, you know, bulldozers and heavy equipment. But the ones here at that quarry, the quarry was, the original site where they came to dig up to quarry that pipestone. And the only way to quarry it there is with sledgehammers and pickaxes and like that by hand. And it's a really hard process because they have to, the pipestone lies underneath a layer of like quartz and stuff, so they have to like go down under to get the red pipestone. So it's a very involved process. And anyway, so we went to this store, and turns out it was run by this Ojibwe man who is the lead of the keepers of the tradition of the keepers of the sacred tradition of pipe makers. And the store was just amazing. There was so much magic there, and I got a couple of books that you can't get anywhere else. Oofda. So that was just a crazy, amazing pilgrimage that I am still integrating and processing. And then we got to go to the Twin Cities, Minnesota, to visit my family, visit my mom and my siblings, except for my youngest sister, Kelly, who's down in Costa Rica. But it was good to be with family again. We stopped at my good friend, dear friend Patty's on the way back. She lives near Sioux Falls. Got to meet a one-eyed horse and a one-eyed cat and a lovely dog, and hang out with her for a bit, tell stories, and it was just amazing. We just got back a few days ago. When we get back? Thursday. We got back Thursday night, and so the last few days have just been kind of resting and napping, sleeping, integrating. So, and I'm almost ready to start writing about it. One of the things I got guidance for was that I need to start keeping up my blog. So stay tuned for that. I need to start keeping my blog up to date. So I'm going to be doing more writing and drawing more comics and such. So anyway, hello, my name is Patrick and I will be your host tonight. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for just being here and hanging out. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to pull some medicine cards. If you're new here, what we do, I have this deck of medicine cards, and look who popped up on the bottom, just in time for Mercury retrograde. A medicine card deck that has, every card has different animal totems on it, and you know, each species has a different medicine, which is why they're called medicine cards. But medicine in the sense of the Native Americans, where it means power, energy, magic, whatever you want to call it, but it's like that life force, life purpose. And everyone and everything has its own medicine, but the medicine of the animals has messages for us and teaches us, and that's why we're here. So I will pull 3 cards, and you get to choose a number between 1 and 3, and then I will do kind of a mini reading, tell you what those cards mean, and whichever one corresponds to the number you picked, that is your message for the week. That is the animal who has volunteered to walk with you through this week, and lend you its medicine, its strength, its guidance, and so forth. And because I was so long-winded at the beginning, I might not have time to do what I've been trying to do lately in these readings, is do kind of a guided meditation at the end. We'll see. I might not have time to do that, but I really prefer when people can get their personal messages from the animals, because no matter what I tell you, it's still hearsay and it's a more generalized message. And so I love my whole purpose in doing this work is to help empower other people. And so the more I can empower you to make direct connections with your guides and with the spirit animals and so forth, the better off we all are. So, all right. So pick a number between 1 and 3, or pick a couple or all 3 of them, and we will see who shows up. Ooh, awesome. Got a few here that don't show up that often. One of them used to quite a bit. It's kind of one of the house favorites, but go ahead, choose your number, and we will see where we go. So number 1, if 1 is your number, we got Moose, one of the house favorites. Moose is about self-esteem. If you've ever seen a moose in person, if you've ever been in the presence of a moose, they are one of, it's like you're in the presence of royalty. There's this sense about them, and it really reminds me of lion medicine, you know, like this king of the jungle, like this presence. And moose has that similar kind of medicine to me, and it's just this like, here I am, you know. And he's even got the crown with the antlers, right? And so there's this self-esteem, this valuing yourself, valuing your whole self, even those parts that you might not like, or those things that make you stick out from the crowd, because I like to summarize moose medicine in the phrase majestic dorkiness. All those things that you may have been teased about when you were younger, the things that made you stick out from the crowd, that you probably tried to hide or downplay certain aspects of yourself because no one would accept you if you let your whole self show. Those are exactly the things that you came here to share with the world. Just like Mr. Rogers said, you are perfect as you are. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't grow and evolve and become even better, but you are perfect as you are in this moment. You are whole, no matter what you might think, no matter what anyone else might think, no matter what people have told you or who they told you you were. No one can take from you who you are, because who you are is source energy and expression in a physical body. You are love and joy and light in your essence. That is who you are, and no one can take that from you. No matter what happens to the physical form, you will go on eternally, right? Your spirit goes on and on. Right now I'm thinking about the Titanic, but it's accepting all those things. You expressing in a physical body, and your personality and your likes and dislikes and your talents and all of those things, they are expressions of that original light that you are, of that original unique facet of the divine that you are. And so there is, listen to me, there is nothing in your life, there is nothing about you to be ashamed of. There is no room for shame when you know who you are, when you accept who you are, and remember that you are love and nothing more, nothing less. You are divine love. So that is the medicine of moose. It's accepting everything about you, knowing there's nothing wrong with you, knowing you have never done anything wrong, that everything you have done has been from the best knowledge you had, the best information you had at that moment. And it is from those moments that we learn and change and evolve. And so Moose is about accepting all of that, knowing that who you are in this moment, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, you are whole. You are loved. You are accepted. You are worthy. You are enough. Okay? And again, with the antlers, the crown, that, like, I mean, it even, on moose, it even looks like a radar, right? It's like about opening that crown chakra. When you are aligned, I've talked about this so many times, when you are aligned with spirit, with creator, when your crown chakra is open and in alignment, then everything you do comes from a holy, sacred place. Everything you do is inspired action. Like my teacher, Sandra Ingerman, says, it's not what you do, but who you become that changes the world. And I've had many talks recently with people about this whole idea, and it's something that got kind of impressed on me even more during my recent vision quest. But you are your path. Therefore, you cannot ever be off your path. We always look for our purpose out there, our mission out there. Looking for what we're supposed to do in the world, how we're supposed to help in the world, how, and so we're still looking outside ourselves for permission, for our instructions, as if we're answering to a higher power that, like, this is what you must do, no matter whether you like it or not. It's like, no, your purpose is you are your purpose. You are your path. Just being in this world is what you are meant to do. And when you are here, present and whole in yourself, everything you do comes from that place of heart, comes from that place of inspired action. And inspired means inspirited, because you're in alignment with spirit first. Your heart guides you. You can do no wrong. You will do no wrong. Everything you do is for the higher harmony of everything and everyone. So, relax. Let go of all those thoughts of who you're supposed to be, all the ways you haven't, earned your way, or feeling like you don't deserve to be here. Let go of who you were, what am I trying to say? Let down those expectations of who you thought you were meant to be, and accept who you are now, because you will never be any more whole or any less whole than you are in this moment. You are always whole. It is just a matter of opening up to receive that, opening up to perceive that, and deepening inward. And it's kind of paradoxical, but the more you come into alignment and peace within yourself and full accepting of yourself, the more you change the world around you, because everything you do comes from that place of heart, of connection, of harmony with all living things. So know that you are worthy. Know that you are the majesty of your reality, that you are divine love in physical form. And you may look dorky, like the moose, probably one of the dorkiest animals there are, and yet you can carry yourself with such esteem, with such love and acceptance, that you emit that feeling of majesticness. That's who you are. It's just a matter of accepting that and stepping into your power. All right? So that is moose. Number 2, we have raccoon. If 2 is your number, raccoon is the one who has volunteered to walk with you this week, bring you his guidance. And raccoon has some pretty complex attributes to his medicine. I'm just trying to feel which direction to start. So the most obvious thing about raccoon, the first thing you ever notice about raccoon, of course, is the mask, right? And masks can either, how do I put this? It's funny because I talk about this stuff all the time, and whenever I go to say it again, I always forget how I put it the last time, or how I normally say it. But You know, masks can be either tools or obstacles. They can either separate us from the rest of the world, or they can connect us to the rest of the world. It all depends on your intention, your heart, and how you use that. You know, many of us, well, pretty much all of us, when we're being raised, we're taught that certain behaviors are acceptable in certain instances, but not in other instances. You know, like you act differently when you go to your friend's house versus going to your grandma's house. Or, you know, in church, you act differently than you do when you're playing out in a field somewhere. And depending, and then, you know, we learn to stifle our own, this kind of, and this fits with moose medicine, we start to learn to stifle our own identity, our own truth, in order to be acceptable to other people, so that when we're at work, we wear one mask to make us acceptable. But it doesn't connect us to the world, it actually separates us, because the mask isn't based on truth. It's based on what someone else expects you to be. And so you wear a different mask if you're at work versus if you're out with your friends, versus if you're at your grandma's house, or depending on what people you're with, you act differently. You're like all these different identities, and it leaves you, there's so much energy put into erecting those masks to hide behind, to make yourself acceptable, that there's no energy left for knowing who you truly are underneath all of that. Everything is projected outward. All the energy is projected toward protection, you know, and out of fear. I don't want to lose my job, so I'm going to stay in this box, wear this mask so they don't see who I truly am, because if they actually saw who I was, they would fire me. Or if my friends really knew who I was, they wouldn't love me anymore. You know, that kind of thing. That is putting up a mask, compromising your own identity, your own worth, your own truth for acceptance by someone else. And so you're sacrificing who you are for the benefit of someone else, for the benefit of false acceptance, false validation, and it leaves you, and that's where a lot of people have like midlife crises and identity crises, because they've been playing these parts so much that they don't remember who the actor is playing those parts. And when those parts fall apart, the shell breaks open, who's underneath it? And so there's this crisis of identity, not knowing who you are. But that can be a good thing, because it's that place of, this has been coming up a lot lately for me too, that place of unknowing, which is the womb of knowing. That darkness of not knowing is the womb of self-discovery. So when you know who you are, when you are in alignment with spirit, you know who you are. It doesn't mean you necessarily act the same way at grandma's house as you do out at a bar with your friends, but you can still put the mask on, but you use it as an interface, because you know that that mask is not your full identity. And so when you put on that mask, you're making an interface, basically like speaking someone else's language so they can understand you. And so you're not sacrificing who you are, because you realize that who you are under all those masks, each of those masks is a different facet of who you truly are, just as each one of us is a different facet of that divine source energy. And so when you do it from that way, you don't get pulled into one mask or another. You know who you are. And it's like, I heard this phrase one time that I just loved, jumping metaphors. So if you're like, for example, a healer, or like where I heard that was a class in death midwifery, like death doula, and they were talking about how you can jump metaphors. You have this basic understanding of the cosmos, all of, and so when someone is dying, you can speak to them in their own language with their own metaphors, their own personal mythology, but putting on familiar clothing that they will recognize onto these eternal truths and such. For example, if you're helping someone who's passing over, who's Catholic, like I was raised Catholic, and you wanted to set sacred space, do a ceremony with them, to help them integrate and process things, you call in, one of the main things of ceremony is calling in the various directions or forces or watchtowers or guardians, whatever you want to call them. And so if someone was Catholic, you might call in like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or the archangels, 4 different archangels holding the directions. If they were pagan, you might, you call in earth, air, fire, water, knowing that it doesn't matter what mask you put on those eternal truths, that you're still connecting with the same truth underneath. Just like every religion in the world is based on love. Every religion in the world at its base is about love and connection and, source, God, whatever you want to call it. We just put different faces on that, like Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, is the same. God wears so many different faces because we each have a unique connection to the divine. We're each in a unique facet of that divine power. And so when we can learn to play with the masks, not losing our identity, not losing who we are in that, it actually becomes fun, right? And like you think about raccoon, he's kind of one of the trickster animals. They're rascally. They will find their way around traps. They will find their way to get food, to sneak food from people. And that brings in the other aspect of raccoon. I always think of raccoon as the Robin Hood of the animal kingdom. Down to the mask, right? The noble thief. And I always think of it as the Errol Flynn version of Robin Hood, that jolly, merry Robin Hood in the woods with his merry men, laughing and playing and wrestling and outwitting the sheriff and playing tricks on the sheriff and on the rich and everything, knowing that they are working for the higher good and redistributing the wealth where it belongs, seeing the equality of all people rather than just the few, being like working outside the law. It's not that they, that's an interesting aspect to come up, that again, talking about the boxes we put ourselves in, which fits with Moose again, because we tend to try to fit into these boxes that society wants to put us in. Society tells us that this is who we are, this box. And we try to squeeze everything into that box, including the antlers and these long dorky legs. But no one can fit in those boxes. You weren't meant to be boxed in. You were meant to express, to be your whole self. And in the same way, there are societal boxes of laws and etiquette and things that are acceptable and things that are not acceptable. As soon as you say something's wrong, or as soon as you say something is right, you're creating what's wrong. You're drawing a line, you're creating a box. Only this is acceptable. Anything outside of that is unacceptable. But like I said, none of us can fit in those little tiny boxes that society wants to put us in. And so if you think of those boxes as the law, this is what's acceptable, it's not that you're hell-bent, it's not about rebelling against those boxes. It's realizing that those boxes don't exist. But when you find that power and express who you are, you're bigger than those boxes. Part of you will still fit inside where those boxes are meant to be, but there's part of you that will be outside those boxes. And so, in that case, you would be considered an outlaw, just like Robin Hood. He was outside the law because what he did was counter to what the, ruling class's acceptable parameters. And so he became an outlaw because he didn't fit into that box. And it's not that he was evil or anything like that. He still had the highest good in mind to help all people. But because of those beliefs and because of his actions, it took him outside of that tiny box that was the acceptable law of the time. And so remember that there is no box. You are not boxed in. You live from your heart with alignment and everything. You cannot and will not do anything wrong. It's impossible. When you're living from your heart, you're living in harmony with everybody else, with everything else. So don't be afraid to be a little rascally. I mean, that is part of trickster medicine. It's part of raccoon medicine, is to wear masks that may not be appropriate for the circumstances, to help wake people up, to kind of throw a wrench into the what am I trying to say? The routine, that's the word. So it's like kind of disrupting the routine to make people stop, because we get in that routine and there's this sense of, there's this hypnosis that happens, and we get caught into that tunnel vision of the routine, what has to be done, who we are, and by stopping that routine, you open the parameters. All of a sudden, people have to stop and look around and figure out where they are, which can be disconcerting. But that's part of the trickster medicine, that rascaliness, to kind of trick people into finding themselves. Trick people, entertain people, be the same. Like, there's a term, I think the term is Lakota, but it's pretty much everywhere. But the term is Heyoka, and it's someone who acts counter to the accepted ways. And in tradition, they were people who would, they get up, they would ride their horses backwards, they would sit backwards on their horses, they would say goodbye when they meant hello, and hello when they meant goodbye. and they were the sacred clowns. And their job was to keep people aware that, how do I put that? It's to balance out that solemnity, you know, where everything is serious, everything is solemn, everything is sacred, and we must, you know, bow and be serious. Raccoon comes along with that Heyoka medicine to say, hey, everything is sacred, including you, and there is nothing you can do that is not sacred, so don't take life too seriously. It's still important to honor traditions, to honor sacred places, sacred people, the ancestors, all of that, but we can do it with a sense of lightness and play. That's what the Heyoka does, is brings in that sense of play and turns everything on its head to make us look at what we're doing rather than getting caught into the routine. Yeah, so don't be afraid. Again, the main message is to follow your heart. Your heart will never misguide you, will never mislead you. If your heart tells you to do something, know that whatever that thing is, whether it's acceptable or not, whether people accept it or get angry at you, you have stepped into that trickster medicine to wake them up. And though they might not recognize it at that point, you have planted a seed for them, which will, at some point, even lifetimes down the line, they will wake up. There's an opening there, like the whole thing about the cosmic egg, and it's the crack where the light comes in. So that is Raccoon. I never brought the Heyoka medicine in with Raccoon before. That's really interesting. Anyway, so number 3. If 3 was your number, you got Dolphin. Dolphin medicine is about, well, number 1, it's about the breath. You know, one of the things that sets us apart from other animals, excuse me, is our ability to, most animals cannot, you know, decide to take a deeper breath or a shallower. Sorry, I blipped out there for a moment. And that is part of the reason why we have the vocal range we have language, and it's also the reason we can get so anxious and stuff, because it's not necessarily an automatic thing. We can affect our breath. That's why, like, meditation is such a central access for most spiritual practices, because it's about the breath. It's about sinking into the breath, of surrendering the outer world for the inner world. And it's about rhythm. Breath is about rhythm. That's what Dolphin is about, rhythm. And the rhythm is the inhale and the exhale. You know, it's the duality of this world, light, dark, male, female, birth, death, all of those things. And so it's coming into that neutral point between the dualities, the acceptance of all the dualities, seeing the bigger picture of those dualities, kind of like the yin yang, where you see the overlying circle, not just the individual fishy parts. And so dolphin is about that breath. It's about, I always picture dolphin as, with dolphin, that if you think of dolphin, dolphin is a mammal, so they're air breathers. But they chose to go back to the sea. And so they breathe air, but they live in the ocean. And if you think about the ocean as this world, and think of the air above as spirit, it's like dolphin is constantly rising to the surface to get a big breath of spirit, and it's that big breath that allows him to dive again into the world and effectively navigate the world. I just got a message that I'm frozen. Am I still frozen? I don't know. I'm going to keep talking, though, because I don't know if I am. And if you bring in meditation with that, you know, we meditate. It's that rhythm of once or twice a day, you know, sitting quietly, focusing on our breath. But what we're doing is we're inhaling spirit. We're letting go of the outside world, turning towards spirit, getting a big breath of spirit that then allows us to get up and walk and navigate through our three-dimensional world. That's the alignment I'm talking about. If you can do that once or twice a day, to bring in, to touch spirit, to take that breath of spirit, because that's who you are. If you're not in touch with spirit, then you're not really accomplishing anything, not really having an effect on the world. And so by tuning into spirit is like dolphin rising to the surface, getting a breath of air, and then diving and navigating through the water. There was something else I was going to say. What was it? Well, one of the other things I was going to say is I love, if you've ever read or watched the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you know, they compare humans and dolphins, and humans think they're so much better, so much more advanced because they've created cities and civilizations and wars and digital watches, and all the dolphin ever did was muck about having a good time in the water. At the same time, the dolphin thought that they were more advanced because of the same reasons. So don't be afraid to muck about and have a good time. That was something else I was going to say with raccoon, but it fits here too. One of my very favorite quotes is from Oscar Wilde, and he said that life is too important to be taken seriously. We are meant to have a good time. We are meant to enjoy ourselves. In fact, joy is our compass. And so when you meditate, when you tune into that inner joy, that's you taking a breath of spirit. And that is your guiding system to go toward what brings you joy. And to laugh and to play. This life is meant to be play. We're meant to enjoy it. Not that there aren't obstacles and hardships and travesties and all of that, but the more play, humor, lightness we can bring into the world, the better off we all are. What else were you going to tell me, Dolphin? Now, well, I've got the Flipper. If you know who Flipper was, I've got the theme song going in my head. Flipper, 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 faster than lightning. I guess that's it. It's just that being of two worlds. I remember what I was going to say. Thank you. Dolphin medicine reminds me of the metaphor of the beach ball, right? If you think of yourself as a beach ball, you can hold yourself down underwater for a long time, but the longer you go, the harder it is to keep it down there. It takes more and more energy to keep the ball underwater, because all the air in the ball wants to do is rise to the air above, because it knows who it is. That's its identity. It is that air. And so it wants to rise. If you let go of the beach ball, it will naturally rise to its true place. Just like your soul, if you let go of it, surrender into who you are, rather than trying to hold it down underwater, to fit in those boxes I mentioned, to try to fit in, it's going to take more and more energy. And eventually that beach ball is going to find its way around, and it's going to escape, and it is going to merge with the air above the water. So that's why I say, you're already a high frequency being. It's a matter of surrendering, letting go of everything that's holding you down. And the longer you hold yourself down, that's where those, I mentioned earlier, like midlife crises, identity crises happen, because you think you're here, but eventually you tire out and you cannot keep that ball underwater forever. Eventually it's going to break loose, spring to the surface, and then you're like, who the hell am I? And so the more you can connect with spirit while you're in the physical body and align the two, the easier you will navigate this world, the easier things will flow to you. I mean, think a dolphin like navigating the waters, flowing, using the currents, and being able to swim and navigate the world. So that is all three of the cards for tonight, for this week. As I thought, I don't have time to do the guided meditation, to have you go to the meadow and to meet whichever animal you chose, or who chose you, and to get your personal message. But if you check out my YouTube channel, Perching Wolf Studios YouTube channel, I believe I did that on the very last video I did. And you can just kind of you can pull that one up and fast forward to the end of it and listen to that guided meditation and ask whichever animal popped up for you tonight to see what their personal message is for you, and what personally they have come to work with you on. So that's that, my friends. It's so good to be back. I apologize for kind of going AWOL, disappearing without notice, but I am back and continuing this on a weekly basis. And if you enjoyed this, please feel free to contact me about doing private readings. My office is at Four Sisters Holistic Remedies in Renton, and I am there on Wednesdays and Fridays between, I always say 11-ish to 5-ish, and the walk-ins are always accepted. So if you're in the neighborhood, you want to just walk in, or if you want to connect with me and set up an appointment, I would love to do that. Like I said, my job is to empower others in whatever way I can, and doing readings is one of the most rewarding ways to help others. And so you can check out my website, connect with me there, perchingwolfstudios.net. When I got back from our trip, I found out that it had gone offline for some reason. and it's back up. We're all good. So check out my website, see what shamanic services I offer, the readings, soul retrievals, Reiki, different things that I have in my toolbox to help support you on your path, and see what resonates with you. If you enjoyed this, if this was meaningful for you, I'm really bad at promotion, but I do gratefully accept donations. I have a PayPal and a Venmo link on my website. I will also put, I think I put my PayPal link on the description of this, on the event page for this video, but I will also put it, I will upload this onto my Facebook page and also onto my YouTube channel, and I will put that link in there if you feel, if there's any part of you that feels you want to give in that way. I am so appreciative of that. Anything else? Oh, and this Wednesday is the first Wednesday, which means I'll be doing my sacred pipe ceremony. I was doing it weekly for a long time, and I switched to doing it just monthly on the first Wednesdays. And so if you would like to join me for that, I mentioned my trip to Devil's Tower in Pipestone, Minnesota, as a pipe carrier, this pilgrimage and connecting with the ancestors and the spirits and White Buffalo Calf Woman. This Wednesday night from 7 to about 8, I will be doing a live video of a sacred pipe ceremony. So if you feel called to that, please join me. And otherwise, I will see you next week at the same time, same channel. Check out my YouTube channel, like I said, to see past readings, past ceremonies, etc. And keep an eye out for my blog, because I'm being nudged to write more, and so I am going to focus more energy on actually writing and sharing my path, which is kind of my, I wanted to say command performance, or my mission and purpose as given to me by my guides back in a Vision Quest about 13 years ago, something like that, was to share my path. And I've been doing it through the videos, I've been doing it through the readings, etc., but I haven't been keeping up my writing, so I've been nudged to write more. So check out my website, check out my blog. It's goldenthreadroad.blogspot.com, and there's like many years of writings there, different experiences I've had, and kind of embarrassed about some of the earlier ones, but it kind of shows my growth through the years, and I'm going to continue that. So it's the Golden Thread Road, goldenthreadroad.blogspot.com. Check out my blog, subscribe to my blog so that you can get updates, and you can also subscribe to I have a comic blog where I post my latest comics that I work on. I'm not only a shaman, I am a cartoonist as well. And I do a lot of comics about my experiences, my shamanic life, as well as other things. And that is on, my comic is called Drawing Breath, and the blog is drawingbreath-comic.blogspot.com. So you can find that out. The links are on my website if you want to find them there. But that you can see more of the whole me rather than just the one part of me that does these videos. And otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. Your presence here means a lot. Your presence affects which cards come up, which aspects of the animals get shared, and it is palpable. I feel your presence. I feel that love. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for being here with me. And so if I don't see you on Wednesday night, I hope to see you next Monday night. And until then, know that I love you. I honor you. And I see you. It's been a couple weeks since I've done this. I forgot what my little spiel is, but I do. I see you, I honor you, and I love you. Because you are who I am. We are all part of that same creative source energy. And loving myself is loving you. Loving you is loving myself. So have a wonderful week. I hope to see you Wednesday. And in the meantime, go shining. All right, my friends. Thank you. Good night. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.